Good afternoon, everybody. This is Keith Depp. I'm the Director of Sales for Emergency Reporting. Just want to introduce one of our partners, Aladtec. They're a great partner of ours, one that our sales team refers a lot to. They're top in the scheduling market and have a really, really wonderful product. I'm excited to be here to introduce them as one of our partners. So I'm going to pass it off. You're going to be dealing with Jesse and Matt from Aladtec. They're going to take you through a demo of their system. If you have any questions, you just go to the chat feature. They'll be monitoring that, and they'll go through any questions you have. And with that, I will pass it on to Matt.
All right, thank you, Keith. And yeah, thank you everybody for joining here today. Looking forward to showing you the Aladtec system and the integration with emergency reporting. So we're gonna just move right towards the agenda here for today. We're really just gonna be giving a basic, again, walkthrough of the Aladtec system. Starting through some of the basic components like our database, schedule views. Main, again, real highlight, of course, for today is going to be that integration, and then a few of our other functions like the forms, reporting, and answering any questions as we go along here. So if there are questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, but we can always answer questions and everything like that after the webinar here today. So we're going to jump right into the Aladtec system itself. And this is what our homepage looks like. Again, we are going to keep things pretty high level, and what we're looking at right now is going to be a very generic Aladtec system. Aladtec is very customizable. We can tailor the system to be specific to your needs, as everybody does operate a little bit differently. But again, with the homepage that we're looking at right now, you can really customize this. So if you are wanting to add any sort of custom images, we can embed videos, links, whatever you'd like, knowing that's the first screen everybody's going to see. And then you also do have a dashboard over there off to the right. And the dashboard is really important because it gives you that overview of what's currently going on within your system at a glance. That's where you can see any sort of pending trades, sign up requests, time off requests, things that are awaiting your approval as an administrator within the system. It's also going to display any upcoming shifts, our information expiration report that tracks expiring licenses and certifications, and then any sort of events, trades, or discussions there also. And again, that is going to be unique to each person based on what your particular access is to the program. So the next screen that we're really going to dive into is our member database. And the member database is important because this is where we track all of our personnel information. It's completely up to you as to what you're actually storing within here, but it's very common to have their contact information, employee types, hired dates, titles, anything that's going to be relevant to your schedule, and then some. So I'd also mentioned there's some different certifications we can track, and that's where you can actually monitor when those are coming close to expiring or have actually expired. So this is, again, more of an admin screen as far as giving you that big picture of everything and all of your data. But if you go into an actual specific profile, that's where you can actually see what the users would be looking at within your system. So some basic credentials on top there, following some messaging information. All of the messages in Aladtec are primarily going to be done through text message and email. So once that's been loaded in, then they can choose their preference of how they're contacted in some of these different situations. So for any sort of signups, time off, trades, system is going to automatically send you a notification when those are processed within the system. And then any sort of coverage alerts, information expirations, and then an upcoming shift reminder here, which is a nice little feature for anybody who has a lot of part-time or volunteer staff. It's a great tool. It sends out a message 24 hours before each of their shifts. That's just going to remind them of when and where they're working that next day. Okay, now right below that is our work qualifications. This is one of the parts of the system that will be very unique depending on how you want to set up your system. This is also a very important part to the actual integration side of things, because this is what we're going to be matching up to your rosters over in emergency reporting. So we'll kind of tailor this to match those needs, and then I'll dive into this in a little bit more detail on the actual schedule as to how we can manage those. But these qualifications really regulate what that person's allowed to do within the system. So, you know, who can I trade with? What shifts can I pick up? Things like that. And then this whole bottom section is your customizable area. So if you did want to make any modifications here, it's very easy to do. Go right under your members tab, database configurator page, and this is where you can apply any new fields. Again, all things you have the access to do on your own, but of course, we're happy to help you do this and get that cleaned up. Okay. One other tool here in the database before we dive into the schedules is the mass messaging tool. So if you did want to send out just a blanket email or text message out to everybody in your roster or just to a certain grouping of people, you absolutely can. And that's done just by checking this box in the top left corner. That's going to select everybody's name, and then you can click on send message, which from there you can tailor an email and a text, or an email or a text. And that's just for general messaging purposes. Again, if you are actually looking to fill like an overtime shift or find coverage on a given day, there's a completely separate tool that we're going to walk through for that. Okay, so that's an overview of our database. And next, we're really going to dive into the actual schedule itself. And the schedule is, of course, really the core component of what we help a lot of our customers solve, as far as eliminating the redundancies, trying to streamline this process, and giving everybody that cloud-based easy access to this information. So one thing, again, completely customizable as far as what schedules you have, what positions we have within those, and how you want to manage those with some of these different rules. So I'm just going to start off with some basics of how to navigate through these screens, and then we'll kind of dive into the integrations side of things in a little bit deeper. So the primary view that we have is our monthly calendar. This is really our most popular view, and it's going to give you really all the information that you're looking for on one screen. Within all of our views, there are different filtering options. So if you click on this edit link right here, that's what's going to give you a list of your schedules. So if I wanted to, let's say, view just engine 1, I can check that box, deselect the others, hit apply, and then that's just going to show me that grouping. So for much larger departments, that's very important. And then everything else, like your time off and your trades, you can kind of pick and choose what you're viewing at any given time frame. Now, aside from the monthly view, we do have a few other weekly and daily options. So if you go into these calendar tabs right here, if you prefer to see your schedule on that weekly format, this is a great view that, we give everybody access to all of these. So it's really just kind of your preference. But this one's great for seeing that day-to-day left to right. And then we also do offer a couple of different daily views. So if you're looking for more of just a roster for the day, this also works great. And these views are primarily for anyone who's managing the schedule, making sure you have adequate staffing, filling those shifts, moving people around. But for the user end of things, we also encourage that they use the My Schedule page, because the My Schedule is going to really just give you your own personal calendar on any given day. So it really simplifies what you're looking at. And the other major importance here is that you can also put in all your requests. So as far as training goes in Aladtec, I know that's always a big question. What's it going to look like for implementation? Are people going to have to attend training sessions? For the user end of things, not really, because typically it's just a 5-minute YouTube video and they have everything they need. For the basic requests, you can click on any of these shifts here. You can hit request time off or request trade. And then this is all pretty straightforward. So you do have a date and a time range that you can choose from. It's automatically going to choose the time frame of that shift, hit vacation, and then hit request. So that's now pending administrative approval, which can also then route a notification to the appropriate supervisor that something has been requested. And shift swaps are also a very big topic, and something that we have a number of different rules that we can kind of structure into this is the ability to do a giveaway or a swap. You can enable or disable those as you need to. And the giveaway is you just offering up your shift, finding yourself basically coverage on your own, where a swap is going to be more of a day-for-day exchange. So if I'm going to trade my Tuesday for your Thursday, then we can regulate that even more, especially within what timeframes. Along with the trade types, you can also choose from a list of recipients and adjust the time frame. The recipients list is nice because you can, if you don't know who you're switching with, you could just hit send and that'll go out to everybody who's actually qualified to work what you're scheduled for. So it, again, has that logic built into it of the qualifications. And if you also already know who you're going to work with or who's picking up your shift, I've already spoken with Brian. I can send this directly to him as I know he's going to work it for me. So we can send out that message. And then let's switch over to, we'll use Seth here. So Seth wanted to pick up that shift. Let's say I got that text message right on my phone. I can open up the mobile site as all of these functions are accessible right from the smartphone, but you can click right onto that trade, go ahead and hit take shift. And now that both people have agreed to that, that's where that's going to be pending your approval again. So those are some basics of the user end of things. And then I think it's also important to kind of show you the admin side. So if you want to go ahead and improve these, very quick and easy, you can see them start to appear right on your main calendar view. So if we click on, let's say, that time off request, I can select that. Everything in our system is going to be date and time stamped. So you can see exactly when it was submitted, any sort of notes that are attached to it. Once I hit approve, that's going to pull that person right off the schedule, send them a confirmation message so they know they were approved, and then now you have that record right there. Very similar with trades. Click right onto that. You have all the details of that trade. You can hit approve or deny. Once we hit approve, then that'll actually make the switch on your schedule, along with giving you that permanent trade record and also sending out that confirmation message to those. Okay. Now, one of the other topics I wanted to run through before we dive right into the integration side of things too is overtime. That is a very important topic for many people and something that we can help streamline. It all kind of starts with the notifications. So if you need to contact people kind of all at once, just more of a mass message to everybody, really all you have to do is just click on this blue envelope for the day, select the position you're trying to fill, and then hit send. So by default, what this is going to do for you, this is only going to send this message to people who are qualified to work that position. It will automatically exclude anybody who's already working during that day, and then also exclude anybody who's on approved time off. Now you can override either of those last two options I mentioned, and you can also choose this a little more manually if you'd like to, based on certain work groups or access levels, if I wanted to say target just my part-time staff. So definitely a handful of options. Another nice part of this is it is going to be a pre-populated message. You really don't have to type anything. It's going to say that Aladtec is looking for someone to cover the following. It'll have the position, schedule, date, and time all preloaded, and then a link that they can actually click on to get them into the system to go sign up for that. So that's our mass message. Page that out. Anybody who's interested can then log in, sign up, and volunteer. And then that's what this would look like right here, as we had 3 people who volunteered. And from there, if you did need to sort them based on, let's say, seniority or hours worked or whatever other variables, if you have a rotating list, we can factor that right into the availability list here. This is, again, just one of those things that we'll just need to learn about how you're operating. Pull that right in. Let's say if we want to do that based on date hired, we would go to Sandra here. I can select Sandra's sign up, apply a specific working code as needed. Let's say we choose overtime, hit approve, your process is done. So now Sandra's been assigned to that shift with the appropriate overtime code. It does also, or did also automatically decline the other 2 signups, and then all 3 people involved there get that notification. Now, one of the newer functions for filling shifts that we've added to the system is our staggered coverage alerts. So this is where we can build in a little bit more logic. So we can create a specific overtime profile for the appropriate situation. And the cool part about the coverage alerts on this tool is we can add in a lot of that specific criteria and automate this. So if you are wanting to, let's say we'll do it based on title first. So maybe it starts with my lieutenants, And then secondary piece of criteria here is going to be date hired for seniority. That's one option. We also can do it based on hours. Lots of different ways we can structure this. And again, the main purpose of this tool is to accommodate to specific requirements that you have for overtime distribution. We can establish a time frame in between those messages. So let's say they have 15 minutes to respond. It's going to start at the top of your list, send that person a notification. They got 15 minutes. If they accept it, the process just stops and updates our list. If they decline it or ignore it, then it's going to move to the next person and keep working down that. So for anybody who's used to picking up the phone and calling everybody one by one, I'm sure you can imagine the time savings that that tool can do for you. Okay, so let's talk about the integration, why we're here today, right? So the biggest thing about the integration with emergency reporting is, of course, the removing the duplicate entry. You know, it's something we hear a lot of, having to populate both your roster in emergency reporting and Aladtec, and that gets very tedious, especially as we all know of all the different scheduling changes that can happen last minute or just on a weekly basis. So I'm going to flip over to some of our screenshots here, and this will give you kind of a better visual of how we can actually set up that integration, how easy it is, and what we can do for you here. So the actual integration itself is going to be configured in the Aladtec system. That's part of our backend settings, but something that you can actually do on your own also. So that way, if there are any changes, if you're going to be adding a new apparatus and you know how to do it, you don't even have to call us. You can do it on your own. We will be automatically feeding that data into the emergency reporting daily rosters, and that's going to include your schedules for the rolling yesterday, today, and up to 5 days in the future. So we'll look at the interface on that in just a second here, but the really cool part about it is that it is updating every 15 minutes. So as those changes are happening, we are constantly pushing over those updates into emergency reporting. So that way, you know that you just have to manage that one schedule and that will be current and updated for you. So this is what the screen actually looks like in Aladtec. It, again, is in our setup area. And once we enable and turn on the integration for you, all you have to do is click that enable button. And what that's going to take you then is a little box here where you are going to have to enter in admin login credentials from your emergency reporting. So these are all steps, of course, we'll talk you through, but it's really just as easy as that. You have those credentials, you plug them in, and then once you authenticate that, almost everything populates on its own. That's the really cool part, is you don't have to go through one by one. If you have 100, 200, 300 users, when you look at this screen, as long as the names are identical, they will be pre-matched. Now, of course, we know those spelling changes don't always carry over from one to the other, and that's where we'll go through and we'll clean up the few that aren't matched up. And ideally, it's really not that many. So you might see a few unmapped here. So Eric, you know, might have been a full name in emergency reporting, but a little bit different in ours. It's also going to be the same for your schedules. So as a system specialist, a big part of what I do at Aladtec is walk people through the integrations and helping get your system set up. So we'll create all your schedules to match what exactly you need them to be mapped to. And then from here, you can actually go through and pick and choose. All right, so station 1 is going to be matching, you know, as engine 1. So what is it in Aladtec and what is it in emergency reporting? Pretty straightforward. Exact same concept with the positions. So you can either leave them unmapped, or if you don't need that information pulling over, let's say it's like an admin position, leave it unmapped or pick and choose what you want that actually feeding to. As I mentioned a little bit earlier too, you can choose right here how far in the future you actually want that data to feed over. So we can go up to 5 days in the future if you'd like to. And once you have that selected, then it will also have your daily split time that you can choose. So what when does your day actually split? You know, is it 7 a.m. split, 8 a.m. split? And that's going to complete that configuration. So go ahead and hit start integration, and then that is really it. So it's really quick and easy as long as, you know, we have the system set up correctly. It's just a matter of clicking through a couple fields and getting that all configured for you. Okay. So we're going to go back to the actual system here, and we're going to walk through really just a couple of other features of Aladtec. Of course, if you have specific questions on the actual integration, what it can do for you, or just what I think I might have lost audio there for a second. I believe I am back. Yes, I'm getting some feedback there. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. So like I said, we were going to go through a few other functions here, but absolutely reach out with questions, and we will have contact information, email and phone for anybody who's looking for clarification on any of the items I just covered. Okay, so there are a lot more scheduling functions that we could go through in detail here, but we're, again, keeping things pretty high level. I think the only other item I didn't mention as far as the schedule goes, for any sort of part-time staff, volunteers, we can configure your system to really either restrict what they're allowed to do, or we can open it up to give them a little bit more flexibility, like a self-scheduling model. But availability is also a big part of what we can offer in that respect. So there is an availability system where people can go through on any given day, pick when they're available, and then that can be submitted for review. And that even works really well for full-time staff. You know, if sometimes people want their staff to say in advance, hey, if overtime does pop up this day, I am available. So that way you don't even have to go through that whole extensive process if you already have 2 or 3 people who said that they can work it. So availability can be used in a number of different ways. Great function. And again, everything is going to be accessible from the mobile device. Okay. Well, I think we're going to move away from schedules a little bit here. A big part of what we like to do is learn how exactly you're doing your schedule, and then we can kind of show you exactly what some of these additional tools can do for you. But I'm going to briefly walk you through our forms tool. We can really build any sort of custom forms that you need. It's very commonly used for like a vehicle inspection. We also do have an end of shift report that's very commonly used. And it really doesn't even have to be anything specific or related to scheduling, as we can go through and really customize these forms from scratch for you. It's all just drag and drop functionality. So even if it's just a basic request form, you know, a training request, right? Just a matter of going in here. We can create that. And from here, add in the fields that you need, maybe like a date field, rename those. Very quick and easy. They can now fill that out from their phone. And whenever somebody actually completes this form, it will generate a notification to the appropriate person. So lots of different ways that we can structure in some information into there. And along with the messages that you can generate, you know, for any sort of request forms, you do get a lot of great reports out of those. So if you want to pull up a report that shows me every single vehicle check sheet for the last quarter, you can sort through that data any way that you'd like to. And utilizing the different filters, you can really sift through this information any way that you need to. So great tool. Again, something that we're happy to show you any examples for something you're specifically looking for. But aside from the form reports, we of course have a lot of other schedule reports. So scheduled time reports can really give you a breakdown per shift, per person, outlining all of their overtime, any of their PTO, whatever codes that you actually want to apply and integrate into the schedule itself will translate into these reports, which can be ran for any sort of time frame, filtered down in any sort of specific fashion. And then all of our reports do export into Excel in a CSV format. So you can pull that right into Excel, You can print it if you want an actual hard copy, or you could even save it as a PDF, really based on whatever your preference is. So a couple of different reports. I'm not going to spend too much time on these. These are more like grand total reports, which are great for running larger ranges of time. And then one last report here I wanted to briefly touch on is our system log. It's a great tool. It's going to track every single action that's ever taken within your system. So this will give you an exact line item for when each action was taken, who took that action, what did they do, who it affected, and any other additional details right off to the right there. So truly going to be your audit trail that you can always refer back to. Continuing down the line here, we do also have a number of different folders that you can create. So this is a storage area, lots of different documents that you can upload right into here and have for your reference. So just another additional component that they can get easy access to. And then we'll talk about our support here in a second. Now what we're going to do briefly, just take a peek at the mobile site. Those are really the primary tools that we wanted to walk you through for the actual desktop version. But this is what our mobile site's going to look like. This is a very important part, of course, as the majority of your staff would be utilizing the mobile functionality almost all the time, if not all the time. But we try to keep it really simple, but still giving them all the functions they need. So the dashboard will give you any upcoming shifts. It'll give you any available trades, open shifts, time off. This is designed really just to show you anything that's coming up in the near future. Now, for more of the pages with additional functionality, if you go under the menu here in the top right, you can go to your daily summary. This is typically what you would use if you want to see, all right, who am I scheduled to work with? Or can I take time off on this day? Who already has time off? That's going to be available for you to see other people's information and who you're scheduled with. Where the My Schedule is going to function almost identically to the My Schedule in the actual desktop version, where you can see a whole month at a time. I can page forward to, let's say, January here. And if I just tap on any of these days here, it'll populate on the bottom when I'm scheduled to work. You can click right onto them, and then you can request trade, time off, do your signups, all those different functions right from here. Along with that, of course, access to your forms and any other sort of relevant information. But mobile is a great tool, very easy to download and get that right on your phone, and then give everybody that cloud-based access to their schedule. Okay, now for anybody who's potentially looking at a generic system, like a trial system or anything, I just wanted to point out two more things here, and we can wrap it up. But the help tab is going to give you access to your videos and tech tips. Lots of different great videos in here if you want to learn about any particular part of the Aladtec system. Let's see, that's actually the user one. If I go to the admin one, there's a lot more in here. We have a video on just about every part of the system, so this is a great library for that. Now, of course, I don't want you digging through videos to get an answer to what might be an easy question. So along with any questions that have come from today's session or just in general, this is access to our tech support team. That's one big thing that you're getting with an Aladtec subscription is access to our tech support team. We're very proud of them and what they are able to offer. They're all on site here with us, and we do offer 24/7 tech support. We are primarily staffed during those hours, but you can access that by email or by phone. And my favorite part about the phone is that when you call in, you don't have to sit on hold or go through a phone tree or submit a ticket or anything like that. You'll get a live expert on the other end of the phone who's ready to help you and answer any of your questions. So typically you're on and off the phone in just a matter of minutes. Or if you prefer chat, we do also have a live chat service here as well. Okay. So I think we were able to get the majority of questions answered kind of as we ran through here. So Yeah, I think we're looking good. Perfect. Well, I just want to thank Keith and Emergency Reporting for putting this together and allowing us to kind of highlight again what the Aladtec and Emergency Reporting system can do together. So I really appreciate everybody's time.
I appreciate it. Great product. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. And feel free to reach out to either one of us, like Keith had mentioned earlier. You know, we're always happy to refer people over to emergency reporting and vice versa. So again, appreciate everyone's time and thank you all for your time today.
Thank you guys. Take care.